Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and welcome to part 2 of the build of the Sunfounder Mars rover, Galaxy rover as they call it, GalaxyRVR. Last time, if you didn't watch it, go back and watch it because it's worth watching. I did this. This is the base unit of it with the, I can never remember the name for it, the rocker bogie system. Pretty sure it's not boogie. I'm pretty sure it's bogey because it's like trains and bogies and things. So yeah, this is the system that keeps it on track and goes over different all terrains and stuff while it's motoring around. We fitted the board to it and we've tested it out with some quick sketches to make it drive itself around and drive around in corners and turn around and things. So we know all of the electronics are working there. It's a Arduino Uno R3 board underneath this unique connection board here. So we're going to be continuing the build. This time we're going to be adding some intelligence to it, some brains. We've got some IR and ultrasonic sensors to add to it. So let's have a look across at the website. We've got lesson 6, exploring the obstacle avoidance module. As you can see from the little video there, basically it can detect when it gets close to things. So we're going to be fitting 2 IR modules and 1 ultrasonic module at the front, plugging them in and making it all work. Obviously this is the course version of the site. There is just one that's just a quick up and build. I'm not doing all of the course information on this, but I am reading through it and looking at it. So yeah, it tells you exactly what you need to do. The video there on how to build it, but I'm going to be building it now anyway. And demystifying the module. Right, this is what we have. We are going to be fitting 2 of these, which are IR modules. Basically got an IR sender and receiver on the front there. And these basically send out signals, and if it gets a signal back, it's being reflected from something, so it knows it's approaching a thing. So 2 of those to install. And yeah, but we'll have a quick look through at the actual module itself. Smart Sidekick. Take a look. We've got obviously 4 pins on it, which we're only actually going to be using 3. So lots of stuff there. Yeah, as I say, it sends out a signal. If it gets one back, then it knows that there is something in front of it. You can use the potentiometers there to adjust the transmitting power and one for adjusting the transmitting frequency. I shall leave them as they are. I think they're probably preset okay, but we'll see. That's that. So yeah, obviously we need to plug them in to the board there. It's got to know which one's which side, because otherwise it will get confused. And then we've got some coding to look at that. Do that. Basically setting up a new input. Let it scan its surroundings, relays the findings back to the board. If there's an obstacle, the value will be 0. If the path is clear, it will be 1. So basically just keep, as long as it's got nothing in front of it, it can keep going. It pauses for a moment and then tries it again. So we've got the code there to do. Once your code is ready, test it, and then we'll do that. So let's get this installed. I'll do a chunk of the building first, and then we'll come back and have a look at the coding. So in the building front, we have, as I say, 2 of those. Let's get the other one out of the packet as well. There we go. Make sure that, yeah, that one's all bent backwards in storage. We need to make sure they are indeed detecting in the right direction. There we go. So we need to, first of all, put some of these spacers in place. That's where the base is going to fit. They go into 2 of these holes at the back here. Which 2 holes? That's the question, isn't it? They are the ones on the outside between these 2 slots. That's going to sit there like that. and then one over the other side there, with the screw holding it in place. So let's see how we're going to do that. If we can get that angled there, get a screw through there from the outside, the top. Come on, I can see the screw in there. See it through the hole. Not quite lined up. Right, there we go. That's that in there. That spacer go on that. Tighten that up with a screwdriver in a minute. After I've done the same on the other side. Through there, that one was easier. Tighten down there. And then we can use a screwdriver from the top to hold that in place. That's easy. Then on the top, we've got two of these, which go into these holes here. These are where our sensors are going to be mounted. There, can't do both at the same time for some reason. Here we go. No, we don't. Yes, we do. That is that. Let's get those on securely. There we go. Right, we need to wire up these before we get them plugged in. So it says we need to use 3 of these cables. And conveniently, it doesn't show which wire needs to go where. So let's see if that's going to be that way up. That's the way up. I like it. It looks nicer that way up. But I will double check the video and make sure that that is the correct way around. This then goes in place on that side. Single screw, go through and hold that there. And this does need to be at an angle. Now, it doesn't show an exact angle that it has to be at. But it's basically that. I can't tell round and out. It obviously doesn't matter which way round because this will only go onto the board one way round. So let me double check that and get the other one wired up the same, and then we'll see about the next step. Okay, I did have it the wrong way around. You need the exposed contacts at the top, not underneath. So they go on there like that. Let me just make sure they are secure. The video shows which way around I have them, but doesn't say anything about angles of where they are, but that's approximately how it looks. These plug in. We're missing out this one. We're going straight down for the one underneath it. Obviously, you need to make sure you get the connection the right way round, and indeed the right side. So this side will go on this side, way round. That one on there. This one on that side. Nice. Now, the kit does come with some cable ties and wrap to tidy up all these wires, but doesn't say anything about using them. So I'm going to wait until all the wires are in before I worry about trying to tidy it up, because I might need to put an extra wire into a different thing. I don't like these being flapping around loose by the wheels, so I think I might zip tie those to the rocker system, but not immediately. Let's go on from there. That's the IR section system. So let's have a look at the code for that and see what we can detect with that before we install the next bit. Okay, so here we have it connected up. I have tweaked the potentiometers because this one was always on and that one was on only when you got very, very close to it. So that shows me how that works, which is interesting to know anyway. I'm going to need to adjust it a little bit further out, as you can hopefully see. Actually, I'll show you closer up. The light comes on when it detects something. It also sends back a signal, although it's not connected to the computer at the moment, so that doesn't. But that's obviously detecting a signal when it gets here, which is a bit too close to it, because, you know, so by using this one, you can adjust that depthing. So now that comes on a bit further away. I think I have that even further than that, but not that far. Go. So that's detecting about there, and that one is much closer. So let's twist that out a bit. Not that much. There's too close. Going for about there. So that's where I need to be aiming for. No, I think it's detecting my arm there. Too much. Just the case of give and take. A little bit of play. Get that right. Off, on. Flickering and on. Yes, I think that power might be different on that one. So let's try just in that. It's a combination of the two that are going to be required to get it just right. So I shall play around with those. Hopefully get that so they're coming on about the same distance either side. But that's that. Let's I'll figure that out behind the scenes. But until then, turn it off. And we'll continue with the build. Next up, we're going to be fitting the RGB lights to it, which are these strip lights. 1, 2, 3, 4 bulbs on each, and obviously a connection. These are just self-adhesive and are stuck on the inside. Check to make sure I've got the wires going backwards. So these have a self-adhesive tab on the back. Peel off the blue. Eventually, you peel off the blue. Oh, that's got a start to it. Peel off the blue, leaving a sticky inside. And that is going to be fitted to the edge. Right up next to the bit up there, I think. So this bit. So we'll get the battery out of the way. Going to go across there so it can be sort of visible through that slot, I think, is the main idea. I'll aim for that. Just about there. The wire for that then goes up through that back hole. And we'll plug in at the top into the RGB pair of connectors, just like the other one. So I'll get those plugged in. I'll get the other one wired up as well. I can adjust these up, and then we'll see about putting in the IR section. Sorry, this is the IR, the infrared section. Okay, a little bit of tweaking. I've got the wires plugged in, so the lights are active, not working at the moment, but I think we're playing with them next. I'll just show you these. I've adjusted those so they're actually coming on pretty similar to each other. You should be able to see on the bottom here, the serial monitor at the bottom should be showing ones because it's not detecting anything. But as something comes into action, the left one goes to a 0 and the right one will also go to a 0, and indeed both of them will go to a 0 if something's right in front of it. So they're working. I might have to adjust the ranging of them depending on how it drives and everything else, but we'll play with that when it's completed because we can get to those and adjust that on the fly. So that is that. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, the last part of the avoidance module is the infrared sensor. No, it's not the. I keep calling it the infrared ultrasonic sensor, which needs to be plugged in down there like that. Then this is fitted onto the front, the eyes. So that goes in through the hole, through there, and this sits out through there, gives it its nose, its eyes, and that is held in place with two of these little rivets, which go through there, which hold that in place, and a plate which goes through at the back. The rivet also goes through. Don't know why this is rivets as opposed to screws that almost everything else is, but all we can do is what it tells us to do. A little bit tricky getting that in there like that. These rivets, yeah, basically, no, I've pushed that one through too soon. You need to get it through the plate before you push it all the way through. By pushing it through, you actually open up the back side of it. That needs to go through there first. Might need to grab a different rivet. I think I might have opened that one up too soon. This goes through there, but don't push it through yet. Get it through there as well. That's much easier. And then push it through. And that pops open the sides, which holds it in place. And that will go over the other side of that. And that will hold that in place as well. I shall see if I can recover that rivet. If not, I'm pretty sure there is a spare. But no, I think I can make that work. We'll get that through there and then through there. A bit like that. There you go. So that holds that in place like so. So now back to the coding and figure out how that works, what it works with, and we'll go from that. Let's have a look at the screen. We've got, this is lesson 7, the ultrasonic module. So tells us all about the ultrasonic module. New sense of sight. So it senses the distance things are away, as opposed to the IR, which is more sort of, yes, there's something there. This will actually report back, there's something there a certain distance away. So I've done the buildy bit, don't need to watch that. Let's have a look at the exploring the module. It's very similar to the IR, but with a different thing. It sends out sound waves. So it sends out a pulse, and again, when it gets it back, it can tell how long it took for the pulse to get there, and obviously then work out how far away a thing is using a sonar chip on the board. Sorry, it plugs into the side. I haven't plugged it in. You'd have to do something else. So this plugs into the one that's the sonar, which is the end one. Again, we're missing one out. This goes right the way down there. Like that. And basically that. So I shall have a look. We need the up as an output and the coding and everything else. So that, wait and listen. Right, let me get the coding put in, and we'll see what it actually does. Okay, so with the code running, we've got the serial monitor open again down the bottom there, and it's reading out the distance to things from this sensor. So up close, it's reading 2 or 3 centimeters. Obviously further away, it's further away, 17. So that's going to be very useful for telling how far away something is, in conjunction with these as to telling it which side it's on. This can tell us which way it needs to turn and work its way around things. So I'm happy with that. I understand how that works. So I'm fairly confident with that, it says there's more programming there to drive the rover, and that's going to give us to tell it to move forward or backwards or drive around. Again, I haven't got the room set up to do that here. So what I will do is test that away from the bench and see what he actually does, and I'll let you know. Well, I tested it. It works. It does things. It goes forward until it gets close to something, and then it goes backwards and turns back to the left. It only turns back to the left, but I looked at the coding, and it only has instructions to go back to the left, so that's okay. The detection is a little bit iffy, but that might be the environment that I had it in as well. So I'm happy that it's working, at least partially as intended. So I think it's time to move on to the next step, the most interesting and probably the most expensive step, the camera. I tell a lie, we're not doing the camera yet. We're continuing Lesson 8, Advanced Obstacle Avoidance and Intelligent Following System. So this is going to make it a bit more intelligent. And by the end of the lesson, our motor rover will not only be able to avoid obstacles in the path, but also follow moving objects. I imagine having a mini robotic pet following you around. That is going to be quite intriguing. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to test that to that degree, but we'll have a look and see. So yeah, it's got more coding there, understanding the concepts and everything else. I'm not going to do this, but if you want to do it, feel free. If you're doing this obviously on your own, then you can go at your own speed. The intelligent flowcharts of how if something's far enough away, turn left, turn right. Yeah, very cool stuff. But I want to get on with it basically. So we'll forget about that. We've got the LEDs, the RGB LEDs that we fitted. The first thing we're going to be playing with. Bit of flair and practicality. So we're going to add some. Well, we've added the lights. We're going to see about coding the lights. I've already done that bit. This is the LED strip. It tells you how LEDs work. Good stuff in here. Obviously, the four sets of 3 on each strip on each side. It plugs in there. We know that already. So yeah, I've got a code there, which we shall install. And to get that copied, we'll install that into the board. Oh no, I've got a different one down there. What's this down here? I find the orange and yellow colours seem a bit off. The red is dim compared to the other two. That's okay. Oh, right, so it's an updated version of it. So let's grab that instead. Might as well do it right if we're going to do it at all. Copy that. Feel free to experiment. It gives you the colour chart and colour codes for each of them. Move the rover with colour indication. Add colour indication to the movements. Green for forward, red for backwards, and yellow for turning left or right. That's quite cool. But let's update this into the code first and just get the colours working, make sure they are actually doing things. So let's go back to code view. We've got that there. If I plug it in, I don't know what it's going to do. It's going to start doing the sensory thing again, isn't it? So let's stop that from running around. Upload this sketch. That overwrites the previous one. I saw some flashing going on. There we go. We've got some lights coming on. You can see them through the slots there. And indeed underneath. Yeah, there we go. So we get reds, yellow, green, blue. I like the dark blue. That's quite neat. So yeah, there we have that. So in the dark, obviously that will be glowing underneath, like the down lighting. Obviously a little bit through the vents there as well. So that's quite cool. I shall not bother with the whole indicating which way it's going because I can't run on that anyway. So that's that. Next up, we have the Mars Visual Systems. Visual Systems servo and tilt. Right, yeah. So this is going to be before we add the camera. The camera has some extra controls to it to allow it to to tilt, look up and down. So let me have a look through here, and then we'll get the building bit done. So yeah, let's have a look. There you go. That's what it's going to do. The servo there will enable us to tilt the camera up and down. What is a servo? So basically a little ultra controllable motor. Yeah, I've used servos before. Controlling it with Arduino tells you the coding you need to use. Guide 6, attaching the tilt. I shall do that momentarily. And then we'll see about adding the code to get it to work. So yeah, let me get this bit built and then we'll come back and look at the coding. Okay, first up we're fitting the bracket that the camera is going to attach to, arrow to point forwards. That simply goes on the top there with 2 of these screws. I think the last size of screw that we're going to be using for this build. So we've got 2 of those to go in place. Need normal screwdriver for those. Through there, into there. Stuff. Right, so that's that nice and easy. I don't know if this will guide us in how far these sensors need to be pointing, but don't seem to give any indication as to where that is. They're slightly offset as well, so that doesn't really help at all. Next up, we need to play with the servo. Now, the servo comes in its own little bag with its own little attachment toys. So in here we have a little servo. It is a little servo as well. And we've got, as ever with servos, an attachment, a number of attachments for it, which we shall use the correct one. We only want one side, like that. And we want the little screw to hold that in place. But before we attach that, we need to zero it. So it says insert, so it's going to charge the battery. I've charged the battery. Insert the servo into pin 6. This will set its angle to 90 degrees with the preloaded code. I haven't done any preloaded code. Maybe I need to get the code sorted. Let's put it in there and see what happens, shall we? So we'll plug this into where does it go? Can't quite tell from there. Power on, type C. Over the other side, oh, it's onto these. Right, there we go. There's 3 of them. Wait, what? Oh, it doesn't. Right, let me double check where I'm plugging this in and we'll see how that's going to go. Okay, there was indeed code to upload. It looks like you can just have multiple servos on there, so I plugged it into that one as it said, and as you can see, it is in fact rotating. It's going, and the serial monitor is telling us what angle it's at. It goes from 0 to 120, 30, 140, 150, 160, 70, 180. There we go. So that does exactly what it says it should do. If I click the reset button, it starts the code again and starts it back at 0. So what I need to do is set it to 0, then turn it off. And then that needs to be attached at a particular angle. And that angle is downwards, although it said about 90 degrees as well. So I'm not 100% certain it's still doing things. I didn't actually turn it off. Let's try that again. Oh, it won't turn off because I've got it powered. So let's unplug that. Then we can zero it. And then we can turn it off. Right. So then we can attach that down there and hope that that is the correct orientation for it. We'll soon find out when we get it attached. So the screw in the top there holds that place. Like that. What I will do is unplug this from there for now, because we need to do some stuff with this not getting in the way. So let me move that out of the way briefly, and we'll see about getting the other unit attached. Actually, no, there's not much to do. We need to attach that to the big frame, like this. That is that way round. Servo needs to come out this side. Like that. So we've got the two connection points there, which are being riveted again with 2056 rivets. Both of them. 2056. There we go. I've sorted out the remaining parts and screws and attachments that we need. Get that all easily done together. So this goes through there and through there, and then you can push it, opens it up. It is quite a cool way of attaching things. I'll give them that. So I've got that on the wrong side of that. So just as well they give you some spare bits, isn't it? So I need to get that back out and attach that the right way round. Let's try pushing through from here. Go. That rivet back out, hopefully. Go. Make sure that's in on both sides before we try again. I can reuse that. Goes through the aluminium casing. Yep. Into the servo. That's on the bottom side this time. So that should go in nicely like that. The other one go in that side. Move that out the way briefly. Yum. No, you want to. Through there and through there. And again, push to lock in place. And there we have our servo attached to that. This then needs to attach to our front bracket. We've got two tiny screws to go on that side, through the servo arm, and a rivet through the other side, but a different rivet. This is a 6.5 rivet. Those. So that will go through there, and then through there, like that. And I shall get that screwed in place on that side, but they're tiny screws, so I shall do that off camera. Then we'll see about opening up the other packets and getting the final parts of electronics installed. And apologies, I realised that I just had that on the different camera view throughout all of that. So I'll just run through quickly what I did in a bigger screen so you can see what was what. We've got the servo attached on there with a rivet through that side. I'm going to put the screws in on this side to hold that in place. And then that should be a nice little camera mount bracket that will allow us to tilt and pivot. Well, not pivot, just tilt the camera once I've opened these up. So I'm going to get these screws in and then we'll see about the final attachments. Right, I have made some adjustments. I've reconnected that to put that at a different angle because I think it was wrong. But I think now that's at 90 degrees when it's down. Because when I turn it on, it goes up and then steps its way down and through So that's the working range is now going to be from straightforward down a bit or up a bit, which is exactly where I need it to be. I don't need that to be an extreme. So that is that. Happy with that. Next up, we have the camera module. So we've got some things to do. We have the camera itself, which is tiny, but still quite nice. We need to connect that little ribbon cable into this little section. That basically should just locate in like that, yeah. And then that black bar holds down to lock that in place. The back of this is self-adhesive. So I shall do that behind the scenes. Get that stuck onto the plate there, which is in fact an SD card holder. So that's that. This attaches to our first piece with 3 rivets. This is just the bracket to hold it in place. So that goes in there. Actually, before we plug that in there, we've got the wire to attach. So one end goes in there like that. The other end comes out through the back, and that will connect into our final socket, which is for the camera. That on there, riveted in place like so. That's that. Then when that's ready, that just pops in place again, like the shield board. It's just got those to go on the place there. So I shall get that attached. We'll have a look at how that looks. And then I think we've probably got some software to play around with and make sure that works. Okay, I have got the camera attached and plugged in. I've done some cable management as well. I've tidied up the side pieces there and zip tied the back one to the frame. I can't do much with the front ones because they obviously need some movement, but they're not going to be interfering, I don't think. So if need be, I can play around with those as well, but I think they're going to be okay. And that is about it. I have also attached on the underside the plastic base piece and taped in some of the wires there as well, just to keep everything looking neat and tidy. So, couple of final touches to do. We have the solar panel to install. The plate there just fixes with these sticky foam pads onto that. So that's going to hold that in place. But where does it fit? That's the question. We need to make up these rods by attaching 2 of these long pieces together and screwing those into the 4 corners there. That one. That one. And the 2 at the front. They are then attached with some screws with these bars in place. It simply goes through there into there and then does exactly the same again on the other side. Then this one needs to go on the front. This one's got the attachment point for the solar panel. So when that goes on there, that bit hooks under that bar and that lines up with that, and a screw goes through there to hold that in place nice and securely. And this final cable plugs in to the lone socket that we've got left over where the power is going to go into it there. After that, it's just a case of software. I shall show you around the app and we'll see how it all connects and go from there. But let me get this wired up and finally connected. Right, I plugged in the solar panel and connected up those 2, so I need to get sure the wires are out of the way when this goes in place. But what I do notice is the little light down here tells you that it's charging, and even under my artificial LEDs, I'm getting a bit of a charge from that, so I'm happy that that is going to charge nicely in sunshine, assuming we ever get any sunshine in this country. But that's going to go on there like that. I'll get that final screw in place because I can't do that without tipping it all out of the way. But that is that, and that's going to be The rover completed. Okay, here we go. It is all powered up, all connected up, and all working lovely. One thing left to do is connect it up with the app. I've turned it on. It's in the correct mode. We've got some lights on in the bottom there in purpley colour. Don't know why that is, but I don't know that I can change them using the app, but I'm sure I can at some point. But for now, that is what we have. So the app itself, here you go. You get a bit of behind the scenes action with this as well. Let me move that so we can see a bit of what's going on. And the app itself is showing the camera view, the live camera view, or it's maybe half a second behind. It's very nearly live. That is that. We've got the main light we can turn on and off, which makes a little bit of difference. Not a lot on that, but a little bit. We can control the camera to look up and down. You need to see what he's looking at. The little silver bits there are the ultra sensor. You can just about see down there. So that is now pivoting. And I adjusted it once again so it's looking dead forward when it's zeroed. So that is that. We've got readings down the bottom here from the sensors. And we can control the car itself using these sliders. The right track forward and backwards, and the left track forward and backwards. And obviously you can do them both at the same time to make it go forwards and backwards. There are other options to do things with it, like stop if you need it to. Voice control, which I haven't even played with yet. And avoid and follow mode just by pressing a button. You can also program in different things, put different buttons on to do different things on there. I haven't programmed any of those yet, but it's possible. But all in all, I'm more than happy with how it works. Obviously, I haven't got room to drive it on my bench, but I will take it out and about into the wilds. It's dark now, so I will do it when in the daytime, when we can see what it looks like. I'll get some video of it in action on the floor, and yeah, show you what it's like in the garden.